Welcome to Sentimental Simmer, a podcast made for emotionally attached simmers and storytellers with wild imaginations. I'm your host, Gloria, and I run Yellow Llama Co., a planner shop made to help simmers play with purpose. Every week, I talk all about things sim life planning, storytelling, and memory keeping. I'll also brainstorm new ways to obsess over our pixel people, whether they be in The Sims or another life sim game. And now let's get into it. Today I'm going to talk about how letting go of your Sims and turning aging on will open up a whole new world of gameplay opportunities that wouldn't have been possible otherwise. As I mentioned back in episode 2 about how to fall back in love with your Sims, turning aging on also allows your game to progress and gives your Sim a future. I personally feel like, at least for me, I can speak for myself here, I feel like keeping aging off is simply another form of procrastination, but in The Sims. Hear me out. I know some simmers do age their Sims up, but they mainly do it on their own time. Sure, there's a lot of fun to be had in just, playing your Sims that you've made. Maybe you just want to live out their story forever and on. In my case, though, I feel like I'm just pushing off the inevitable, losing them, missing out on experiences I might feel like I haven't had time to do. And let's be real, I think ever since high school years or something dropped, they bumped up the aging, like the number of days that it takes for a Sim to actually pass. And I think we're at like 560 now on the long age span. I ain't missing out on nothing, okay? These Sims have a long enough life, and I really am not going to miss out on anything that I want to experience with them. And anything that I wouldn't experience with them, I can experience with the next generation or with another set of Sims. I'm not missing out on anything really, but still we're very sentimental and attached. I know, I understand, okay? The game, and I think there's a lot of gameplay that we might be missing out on if we just let time stand still. I know some simmers do like to age their Sims up, and I really commend them for that. I feel like there's a lot of work involved with keeping track of the Sims, and Lord knows I'm not a stranger to keeping track of my Sims, okay? I love to micromanage, but I'm not one to manually do all that on my own time of aging the Sims up. I do like the immersion and the feeling of realism that the game brings when they just, age up on their own. Same for when they die on their own. I don't like choosing the traits a Sims gets. For example, when there's, your Sim has, is dancing to music. Do they like to dance? And I'm like, yes. I don't want to actually have that choice. I want them to just automatically develop that. And the same goes for, whenever they age up or die. I don't want to have that much control because I just want it to feel more, like a natural organic progression and not something that I'm micromanaging. I want to micromanage who, they maybe fall in love with, though I do appreciate whenever that happens on its own. But, there are certain things I like to control and certain things for example, what outfit anybody's wearing, please do not change that on our own. Or moving, I don't really like that too much. If I've, moved you into a home, decorated everything, and then you're in a different one, but next time I load your household up, that ain't, the way we want to play. But important milestones, weddings, I also like to plan myself. These are really bad comparisons. But basically, I don't like to, when they're born and, when a Sim gets pregnant, for example, I don't want to control that. I just want them to get pregnant as they get pregnant. Like, of course, I try for baby. But ultimately, whatever random dice is moving in the background decides whether or not my Sim gets pregnant, not me. I mean, I could with a cheat, but I like to let, the dice roll on that decision. And same goes for when they age up and die. I feel like giving up that control, something about it just makes the progression feel more meaningful to me. At the same time, I do struggle with some serious FOMO and, missing out on my Sims' lives. And they are finite, right? They won't go on forever. And so I must be honest here, I do usually keep aging off. And yeah, that's why I'm just stuck with my Sims sometimes. Or I think I actually have a long lifespan on it. It feels like I have aging off because 560 days, girl. But I digress. My point here, the thing is, I think I'm actually missing out, and you are too. I think we're all missing out on gameplay that is only possible if we actually let that time pass. Eventually also let go of our Sims. What am I actually missing out on, you ask? Okay, I'm going to tell you. Okay, I'm going to tell you some cool gameplay ideas you might not even have thought of or had the possibility to play because you're stuck in the present with your Sims forever, and that's boring. Obviously, it can't be that boring. You've been doing it for the longest, right? It has some sort of hold on your potential. I think we should work through our attachment issues. let go of our Sims. One new thing you'll be able to experience if you actually let the Sims age and time pass naturally and let them fly off into the Sims afterworld, I think it'll allow you to build your own lore and add historical context. So if you let time pass, it'll create a sense of history in your gameplay or in your save file, for example. Family drama and rivalries that are carried on for generation after generation, for example, could be a fun way to play it. Maybe there could be family drama and rivalries that are being carried on generation after generation that really hold strong. Two families that bumping heads until maybe two descendants fall in love. Romeo, Juliet, but in The Sims. That's a fun storyline, but you need that background, that hardened hate between those two families to really develop throughout the generations. Or maybe have legends that come up from your story. And legends really only are a product of something that's developed over time. So for example, you could have a sim tell a story about their great grandpa, the magnificent magician. He could do all these things. But it's really hard for your sim to tell that story if great grandpa is still alive and well down the road, right? It ain't gonna work. It's more legendary if the guy is not here anymore. Also, historical events can be created and help create another sense of time passing if you actually have Sims pass on, and then you have new generations and new generations of community that develops. So, for example, you could celebrate the founding day, call it founding day. It's whenever the family legacy was started, or maybe when you started to play that save file. Maybe the first of, you just make up a day and you can say that's, always celebrated throughout the generations. Coming back to family rivalry, maybe that lasted for a certain amount of generations and it's finally come to an end. So the community now celebrates the peace that reigns. How about that? Peace day or something. Letting time pass and eventually also letting go of your Sims also gives you the opportunity to celebrate the life of each individual Sim in a special way. For example, you can classically hold a funeral for that Sim. It's unfortunate we don't have a proper funeral event or venue for the Sims. They don't actually have a funeral when they pass. It's actually quite terrible that, they just go poof when they die and there's no proper sending away party. But you can give your Sims back their integrity and give them the goodbye that they deserve with a decked out funeral party. I really recommend the Mortem mod by Simrealist. I'll, have that linked in the show notes. You can have a condolence visit. They even have different venues that can act as funeral homes where you can hold the funeral service. So it's really, really cool. You can have a medical examiner come and, check the body and all that stuff. It's really fun and immersive and lets, your Sim actually be celebrated. Another way you can celebrate the life of that Sim is with a candlelight vigil. If the Sim will be especially missed by the entire community, why not do that for them? So again, no proper event in the game. Let's play a little make-believe. We're used to it now in The Sims. So why not set up the vigil event in the evening at a public space, with some somber music and candles. And then you can even resize the candles, or adjust their color and intensity to create, the perfect atmosphere. Let's say you have, Barbie in your game and she died. Well, why not have the candles shining pink and magenta and really bright and, happy music playing in the background. You can create any type of candlelight visual event you'd like. You can say goodbye to your Sims, the Sims can say goodbye to your Sim, and it's just a fun excuse also for an event. You could also create a holiday in the name of the Sim. For example, you can celebrate legendary Sims who have passed away. Maybe great grandpa finally kicked the bucket, your legacy founder, or a brave and accomplished mountain climber, or a beloved celebrity. There are plenty of Sims that deserve a holiday in their name. So you could use different holiday traditions to actually create this holiday. So we've got Remembrance, which is a holiday tradition which lets you or triggers or prompts your Sims to interact with gravestones. You can have, tell stories as a tradition. I think fire would be a good tradition because fire in certain cultures or religions is symbolic for eternity and also remembrance. So you can have your Sims light up a bonfire every Sim year when Barbie has passed, to celebrate her and her life. You can also plant a tree in the Sim's name. So you can actually either plant a real tree or just grab one from build mode and plant it. So you can't actually name the trees. I checked in game, it's not really possible, at least not as far as I can tell. But one way you can mark that tree as in the name of the Sim is to place a frame with their photo in front of the tree and add a special title to that frame about their memory, for example. There's also a mod called It's All Gravy by Revachine, which is really cool. You can transfer your Sim's gravestone, their urn, so to say, to a plaque, where you can then also add even more details about them. And whether you're using a photo or a plaque, you can, in build mode, you can place it onto the tree with, so if you use the cheat bb dot move objects on and use the 9 key, the number 9, you can place it really wherever you'd like. So you can use the 9 key to move the object to the height you'd like on the tree, and move objects to really just, move it anywhere. And so that's how you can plant a tree and also symbolically have a photo or plaque in front of it that actually tells a little bit more about the story, whether it's just the name or you have the mod and you can write a bit more. It's also fun to play long-term goals that transcend generations. So, just playing the long game. For example, you can play with hereditary traits. For example, we have the ancient bloodline in The Sims 4. You actually have to play multiple generations of spellcasters to acquire this trait. You can't actually just have a sim be born with this automatically. It's something that is cultivated generation after generation. You have to actually have, I think, spellcasters with a certain strength of bloodline intermingle so that they can create, even stronger and stronger spellcasters. Also, I think really fun traits are, in The Sims 3, are the immune to fire and the pyromaniac traits, which can be inherited from firefighters. Imagine if you had a scandal, if like a famous line of brave firefighters, they've been known for years, for generations, to be the firefighters. They even have like their own firefighter venue. I don't know what it's called, firehouse, but their reputation is absolutely ruined after a tenacious journalist finds out that they were causing the flames themselves. And unfortunately, they couldn't help themselves because they're pyromaniacs. But still, it's kind of like messed up that they kind of made a business out of it. That's something you can play with. Or you can think of other ideas with immune to fire and pyromaniac, but those are inheritable traits that, you really can't do much with inheritable traits or hereditary traits if you're not actually letting your Sims, transition and, pass away and new generations to flourish. You can also, have a family business being passed on to the next generation, and each new heir creates their own spin on things. So perhaps there's even a rivalry amongst the siblings to take over the business, to have their say on its future. Michelle and John, just don't get along. Maybe the last heir wasn't clear on which one's the current heir, so they're like fighting. Maybe you let that heir pass before they could like write their will, and now, Michelle and John are like bumping heads. I want to turn it into a florist place, and the other one's like, no, I want to make it into a dog cafe. I don't know. So something you play around with. Or why not make a new spin on, a challenge that already exists? For example, rags to riches. You can have rags to riches, but build wealth throughout the generations, to have more realistic gameplay, because rags to riches is more fun if it's something that's like really drawn out over generations. Like I remember in The Sims 3, I had this sim, her name was something Corazon, and she was down and out, and she just, had come to this new town, and she was just a hardworking woman, and, she had a family then, and they grew and grew and grew, and eventually they had built an empire, and that didn't happen within her lifetime. It was just, the future generations were so proud to be part of that family because they knew and were so thankful for what she had done, what the founding lady of this generation had built so that they could be where they are now. So yeah, I think it's fun if we maybe take a challenge that already exists, extend it throughout different generations. Another fun thing that naturally happens if you let time pass and you let your Sims also pass with that time is you can shape your worlds, with future generations in mind, and also watch how communities evolve. So you can have a real dynamic population that just organically develops. As the population ages as a whole, you experience also the kin of, those OG townies. You see them age, you see how relationships evolve, people move around. It's interesting also just to observe, even if you're not playing those other Sims. And of course, as certain, kids turn into teens, turn into adults, you have new Sims that you can pair up with other Sims, and whole cool new things that can happen naturally since the world is aging. And also, of course, as communities evolve, venues change as well. So perhaps a local pop shop goes bust after the committed grandpa passes away, but no one's interested in taking over. So will a new owner renovate the place or demolish it, replace it with like a big box business? or maybe due to high demand, there was previously a commercial lot that is now being transformed into an apartment complex to accommodate for, increase in population over the years. I don't think it's really possible at this moment to create an apartment side of San Myshuno, but there is a tutorial by Ardo Sims on how to make apartments anywhere with a few, couple of hacks. I'll link in the show notes their tutorial. It sounds really cool and even lets you have neighbors. If you can use a roommate system to have neighbors, and that way you can like maybe build like a apartment complex somewhere else other than San Myshuno. And speaking about shaping the world with future generations in mind, you can also maybe focus some gameplay on community projects and on neighborhood cleanup, for example. You can do that, of course, without killing off your Sims, but I feel like it's more organic to the idea of a growing and aging community to have this type of gameplay. I think if you know that this community will be here and grow stronger, grow a culture for future generations, then I feel it makes it even more fun and more worth your time to actually invest in, making the environment cleaner, with, eco living. You have some gameplay there that you can actually use. And you can also create local clubs that celebrate what makes the world unique and maybe also that celebrate the developing history of each world. You can also create support networks for also aging Sims, connecting aging Sims with younger Sims, and with clubs you can do that. So I think there are different ways you can play the game, obviously even without time actually passing, but I feel like these things have more meaning if you actually are playing with aging on, because they lend themselves to the idea of an actual dynamic aging community. Talking about aging, turning aging on and letting your Sims pass also gives you more of an opportunity to play, more elders focused gameplay. So if you let your Sims age, coincidentally, you'll also have more elder Sims to play with. For example, you can move a bunch of your dearly aged Sims into a senior home and play them as a household. And you could also create a club just for the old people in town to meet up, for coffee or rock climbing, whatever, they're interested in. You can also regularly invite, all the extended families to the senior home for a giant, family reunion potluck. That would be fun. And you can have the seniors compete for who will have the most grandkids or cats. I mean, wouldn't that be fun? I think it's fun. I never play with elders unless, it's within a family legacy gameplay. Then I maybe have a couple of elders here that I play around with, but I'm not really playing with them. I'm playing more like with the heirs at that point, and they're just like collateral. Having an aging community and actually investing more time in those aged Sims can really be fun and add more gameplay in that aspect. And once they've passed, you can play with ghosts. I never play with ghosts. I feel like that is another rabbit hole of gameplay that is being left unexplored. And Lord knows that there are so many ideas and ways to play the game that we will not be able to play, as I've divulged in last episode. FOMO. But yeah, you can play with ghosts as well. And when they're no longer elders, they pass and maybe they can, keep a connection to our sim world. Another big bonus of letting time pass is the ability then to experience that warm, ooey gooey, cozy feeling of nostalgia. And I actually looked up the definition of nostalgia. And it is a sentimental longing or affectionate remembrance of past experiences, events, places, or people. Oh, how I love to wallow in this sentiment. Obviously, granted, we can still feel nostalgia even when the Sims are still alive because, as the definition says, it's past experiences or events that you're also, feeling sentimental about. And so I can have an adult Sim and be sentimental about, their childhood. But I think it's something especially special if you've actually had to say goodbye to a Sim and things have fundamentally changed in your save file because of it. Or, the communities have changed in some significant way. It's just so nice to have that to look back on longingly and to look back on, if you log things and document, then look back on the screenshots or on the memories or the stories you've written about those experiences. Oh, I just love that feeling. And I feel like it's a natural thing that, we're playing a life simulation, and life, I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, life is finite. It ends at one point. And I think that makes us appreciate every moment we have right now. And so I think we would appreciate our Sims lives more if we, actually know for sure we will let them go at some point. If the clock is constantly ticking, right? And if we don't, have take our watcher power and turn aging off, if we leave it on, I think we'll be rewarded with that cozy feeling of nostalgia later down the line. Now, I'll let you in on a little cheat since I know you're probably having a hard time letting go of your Sims, as am I. Very attached. So, why not create an eternity save, like a save file that represents the afterlife of your Sims? I mean, I really wish there was an afterlife in The Sims because it's really hard for me to let go. But you can make one for yourself. You can make a save file that has like just a bunch of fun things in it to do, and you can save your Sims there, and you can like play them maybe in a different environment and just they exist somewhere still. Maybe that'll help with the process of letting go. And there's always the option of saving them to your bin, and so you can have the opportunity to play them maybe in a different save file and with a completely different storyline. That's always possible. So while you can let go of them and let them pass in their main save file, so to say, you can still enjoy them in a different save file or different storyline. So I hope these gameplay ideas have, sparked an interest in you and you feel a bit more comfortable now to turn aging on and let your Sims die because, oh my God, it's going to be so fun to do all that other stuff, right? So, building lore, celebrating the lives of your Sims, once they've finally passed, achieving long-term goals that actually transcend generations, building dynamic and evolving communities, playing with elders and ghosts, experiencing true nostalgia, and maybe even opening up an eternity save to play all of your Sims that you've lost in one go. In the next episode, we're going to be talking about ways to save memories in game so that your Sims can experience nostalgia at any moment in time as well. I hope you've had fun listening in. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, happy simming!